Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bergen Stages Television, our entertainment magazine here at Bergen Community College. I'm Jim Bumgardner, your host. It's hard to believe that we're coming to the end of our 2018-2019 season here at the college. But what better way to end the season than with Michael Frayn's hysterical farce called Noise is Off? And what an even better way to talk about that farce than with two of the stars from the show, Christine Dunning and Jason Verhaeg. Christine, Jason, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Hey. How's everything going?
Great.
Yeah?
Really great.
Great, we're at that point. We're at the great point. Well, before we get to talk about this crazy show and try to explain some of the things that are going on in this show, I thought we'd get to know you guys a little bit better. And Jason, you've been on the show before, so I'm going to start with Christine. What got you here to Bergen Community College? Where did you go to high school?
So I'm from Verona. I went to Verona High School, and I had moved out to California in my early 20s. I had a bakery out there, and when my husband and I moved back to New Jersey, I found out that I couldn't bake anymore because of allergies. So I was like, what am I going to do? And we live in Bergen County, so I said, well, why don't I go back to school and try some classes and see if there's something else that I really love out there. So, you know, coming back, it was fantastic. You know, there's everything here, so it's been really fun.
Did you do, now I know I Hate Hamlet, I remember seeing you in that
Yes.
a few years ago.
Yeah.
Did you do theater in school before you got here?
Yeah, I did some theater in high school. I did like theater summer camp. So when I came here, I was like, well, I'll just audition for something, and I got in, and so it was really fun. Actually, the director of I Hate Hamlet is the director that we have right now for Noise is Off.
Mary
so that's
Clifford,
pretty neat.
Yeah, that's kind of going around in a circle
Yeah.
there too. And Jason, again, I know you've been on the show before, but it's great to have you back. And that's been a few years since you were on. So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about how you got to BCC.
I'm from Midland Park, born and raised there, and did theater in high school. Went to the John Harms Performing Arts Center, which is now the Bergen Performing Arts Center, when I was a teenager as a performer there. And came here right out of high school, left here to start a career, and my work schedule kind of conflicted a little bit, but something always brings me back right to Bergen. And
it's great to have you back too and seeing you on the stage. So
lovely
what
being
are some of
back.
the shows you did here at the college? I know that there's a resume here.
There is a resume.
I know that we've worked together on a couple. So,
Yes, we've worked together on, I want to say, Kinder Transport, Godspell, Three Penny Opera.
Yep, Three Penny. Yeah.
Company, I was the understudy and props on that.
Right.
But my first show was A Christmas Carol.
Right, with our cameraman and man extraordinaire, Sean Kane.
Sean
Good.
Kane.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just to name a few.
Just a few, yeah.
I think, my favorite that I love to point out is Beyond Therapy, though. That was one of the best.
That was great. Michael
plays.
LaPointe directed
Michael
that
LaPointe
one.
directed that one.
Yeah. And now you've been working at Bergen Pack. You had been working at
I had been
Bergen
working
Pack,
at Bergen Pack.
but you also did their production of West Side Story.
I was
recently.
a doc in West Side Story, which was an amazing experience in itself. And to plug a movie coming out within the next couple years, my Maria is going to be playing Maria in
Steven
the movie.
Spielberg. Yeah,
So
that's just totally amazing.
that's one of those moments where you're like, wow, I got to see her. Like,
And Matthew Rella was in the show from
Matthew Rella,
Bergen, so he
yes.
was one of the Jets
He was-
in it. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So you guys have not worked together before, right? This is your.
Oh, so Jason and I have known each other since we were 15. We actually met each other at summer camp. Yeah, Jason was my man of honor at my wedding.
Yes.
We've known each other for ages and ages.
And we stopped talking after high school because you know how that happens. Because she was from Verona, I was from Midland Park, and we were in audition technique class a couple years ago here, and we kind of had we were sitting right next to each other, and we were like, and, did you?
Did I? Were we? So yeah, and we reconnected like 12 years ago, and
Oh my gosh.
yeah, we've been in love ever since.
Oh, I had no idea. And what
Yeah.
were you doing? Just a regular old summer camp that you guys were in?
Yeah, it was like an anti-drugs and alcohol camp that we went to while we were in high school.
And we were literally dancing around the woods, singing Into the Woods.
Get out.
Yeah, that's how we met.
That's how we bonded.
Yeah.
Wow.
For that week
And
or
so,
so.
but on stage, I know that you do some comedy improv together? Did
We
you guys?
were
Yeah,
part
we
of an
were.
Yeah,
improv
part of
troupe.
the improv troupe. But that's the only, you haven't done a book
We've
show.
never
We've never
performed
been in a show
Cool, so
alongside
this
each
is
other.
the first one. And I had the pleasure of directing you just in Into the Woods,
Yeah.
which has been wonderful, and directing both of you. So I'm so excited because I know the chemistry you guys are going to have is
Yeah.
going to be
have a lot of
totally amazing for this show. That's so cool. That's so cool. Wow, well, I didn't even realize this story. And how long have you been married?
5 years.
Wow, and you were the best man at or
Man of honor.
man of honor at that particular wedding. That's such a cool story. I love this story. And so, Jason, you also have a real-world job now.
I do, yes. I am a supervisor for a bank in the area.
Cool.
And so that's what I'm doing during the day. And
And
at
doing
night,
this at
I'm
night
doing
and weekends,
shows.
and
Yeah.
I'm glad it so works out
Yeah.
because it's just, why not? And I think a lot of people don't realize that anybody can audition for a Bergen show, and we encourage alumnus and of course our theater majors, but anybody here at the college can be a part of the show. Great. And that story always touches me about the bakery. I just know that was just your passion.
Yeah.
And that an allergy has just kind of thrown you into a whole different spin. Have you figured out what it is at this point that you're focusing on?
Yeah, I actually a couple months ago just started a career as a personal organizer. So I'm like really enjoying that, and it's amazing that something that I think is fun is like people are giving me money for it. It's kind of nuts, but I'm loving it. Yeah.
This is not just hoarders or anything.
No.
These are people who just need their
Anything
papers
organized,
straightened out, their
vacations
clock.
or
Cool.
work outings, their room, just whatever needs to be organized.
So
I like doing
if
it.
I wanted to get you to organize my life, how do I get in touch with you?
I mean, right now it's just word of mouth.
Oh, cool.
I actually need to talk to you about our prop room because I was up there.
It's better.
Yeah.
It's better now
But
than it used to be.
Yeah, it's so far it's been word of mouth.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully there'll be a website and all that at some point. That
Yeah,
we
yeah.
Can as you organize that website.
Exactly. Yeah.
It'll take a while. So great. This just kind of wanted to get to know a little bit about you guys. But talking about this show specifically, you both auditioned for. Mary Clifford's directing the show. What was the audition process like for the show? Because I think all of the directors have a different take on it, and you've worked with Mary, and you've worked with Mary before in shows. So what was this audition for Noises Off like? Because it's such a crazy show.
The first night, we both went the first night. And went in, signed up, and the stage manager would hand us sides for which character we wanted to read for. Then Mary would come out
And sides are just
scenes from the show.
a little short snippet
like
of it, right?
Couple lines. And Mary would then come out and adjust who she thought was more right for.
Give you a different
what
script
part.
or pair you up differently?
Pair us up with whomever she thought would be the best person, scene partner for it. Then there was a callback process.
We did it open, so she
Yeah.
had
It
everybody.
was an open call.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, gotcha. So do you any more to add to that part of the whole process?
It was really interesting getting to read with other people because you really felt when chemistry clicked, and I think with an ensemble show that's so important. And there were a lot of people who are in the show now that I read with that I remember reading with them in the audition and being like, oh yeah,
You're going to be right for
I
that.
dig your vibe.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat. So you did you guys read together? Did you guys have the chance to?
We did. We were the first. Our
First pair.
You first paired and got
Yeah.
up there and did it together. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then she had callbacks on another day. You came back to callbacks on that. And what happens at a callback that's different? Well, let me ask you this first. Do you think it makes a difference? Because I think students ask me this: if I come the first day of auditions or the second day, do you think there's? Because she had it for 2 evenings. Do you think there's a difference?
I don't find that it makes a difference. In my experience here, it hasn't made a difference whether you're first night, second night, both nights. Some people come to both nights just in case.
But do you think one audition is fine? Because
One audition is
unless you've totally botched it,
and then you can
come back
always
again
come
and
back
say,
and-
hey, I really had a bad night with that sort of thing. I think that's good to know because a lot of people are insecure, and then we have a flood of people showing up the second night because they think, oh, that's when they're going to remember you or something, and I don't think that's true. I don't think that's the case.
I've never found that.
Yeah.
Like we came the first night.
Yeah.
And there you are.
And here we are. Yeah.
Good. And so what happens at a callback, Christine? What's different?
So sometimes callbacks are run the same way. We had our first night, which is the director calls you in individually or as groups. Our callback was everybody in the theater, which sometimes is a little intimidating because you get to see what everyone else is doing. You're like, oh, I was gonna kind of be like that. Do I have to think of something else? It's easy to get in your head when you see everybody else. But it's also really interesting to see the people that you aren't reading with. Because then you get little glimpses of like, oh yeah, they're good. I hope I get to read with them.
Yeah.
And So yeah, it's a little more intimidating, but you get to see everybody.
And you're kind of seeing what the director sees. Then.
Yes.
If you get to see it like that, you're going, oh, I see why that person was chosen
Yes.
for this, because of the special nuance that they brought or to the show.
Yes.
And so you just kind of read again, and that was kind of it?
Yep.
And she would hand us different scenes, and then the character you thought that you were called back for, she'd be like, why don't you read for something else?
Ooh.
So she would switch things up, and then, like...
Why, Jason? Why would you, why would...
I think if you read a certain way, she might get a director would get a different idea of like, oh, maybe they could play this other part. So there was a lot
So it's a
of, there were
benefit
a
of the
couple
doubt
people,
kind of thing.
yeah, there were a couple people that I think were locked in, and then there was like, she was like, oh wait, why don't you try this part and you try this part, and so I know for me and another actor who is in the show, he did get cast in the show as well. We were flip-flopping two different parts several times.
But it kind of
throughout the
frees you
callback.
up saying, well, I think I'm right for this one, but okay, yeah, I'll humor
Yeah.
And for
myself.
an actor, it gives you more like hope. You don't feel like, I'm not going to get this. Now it's like, oh, now there's
Now
two
it's
parts
two
that there's a
I got even a
possibility of
better
getting.
chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting to lock yourself into one and leave yourself open to the other. Now, this show has a lot of energy. Did you have to do anything at the auditions or the callback to show that you can handle this? Or did she
callback
ask you anything that said, hey, do you dance? Do you run a mile?
No, but I think that might also be, we don't know what she did in other people's auditions, but since Mary knows us, maybe she didn't
Maybe
ask us
that's it.
that.
She didn't need that.
She has worked with us.
Yeah.
Wow, that's okay. So then you get cast in the show, and I do have to have a disclaimer here. We're getting ready to do a photo shoot, which explains your hairdo today.
What do you mean? Yes. Yeah.
Christine doesn't always look like her hair isn't quite so crazy, but she plays this wonderful character in the show. Describe your character.
So
It's a double character.
Yeah,
right?
so part of the fun thing of the show is we're putting on a show within the show. So I play an actress named Dottie, who's in the show, and she's playing a character called Mrs. Clackett, who's this kind of old housekeeper. So it's fun because you get to do sort of dual contrasting characters.
That's lucky for you guys.
Right. And the show is called Nothing On that
Yes.
you're doing. So you're putting on Nothing On.
Yes.
And Mrs. Clackett is your character in that particular show. Is it confusing to know whether you're Dottie or Mrs. Clackett as you're going through this?
Luckily in the script it has it split out, so like I know when I'm Mrs. Clackett
tells
because it
you.
says Mrs. Clackett. Yeah.
Right in the midst there.
Yeah.
But yeah, even the call, I can imagine the cast, the rehearsal schedule is like Mrs. Clackett. Oh, that's me. I'm Mrs. Clackett too. So yeah, that can be a little daunting as well.
But I think the script tries to make it as easy as possible. I think the script knows that
knows
it's a
what
pain in the butt. Yeah, so
don't confuse
it
an
tries to
actor
help
that can
us,
only
yeah.
handle so much. But yes, you do not get the dual role.
I do not
Jason.
get dual
Who
role.
are you playing?
I play Lloyd Dallas, the director of Nothing On, with my fantastic cast that don't know how to memorize lines or remember cues,
But they're trying.
but they're trying their hardest.
Uh-huh.
And Lloyd is at the end of his rope when you meet him, and comedy ensues.
And he sticks with the show throughout the run of the show, doesn't he?
He-
goes with, because each act is months later.
He
kind of.
leaves to do Richard III.
Right. Oh, that's right.
In Aberystwyth. That's the first time I got that word right, that town, that village right. He comes back to amend an issue that happened in Act 1, and then he stays with the cast for the rest of the run of the tour.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
I don't want to give anything away why he comes back.
Oh, that's okay,
but-
and maybe we'll get there. But let's just. So great. So the show starts right at. It's going
Final
to be
dress
opening.
rehearsal.
Opening.
It is the final dress rehearsal the night before opening.
It's a technical.
It's the dress rehearsal.
And it's like really 2 in the morning or something like that.
We
you've been
start
working,
at
working.
11:30
PM.
At PM, you find us at 11:30 PM, and we end our Act 1 and their Act 1 about 2
2
or
a.m.
2:30
Yeah,
in the
yeah, and they're
morning.
going to open the show that day.
Yeah.
But we're going to take a short break and really get into talking about the show because I think it's such an insane show, but so much fun. So come right back. We're going to talk more with Jason and Christine about Noises Off.
My poetry is about viewing the world as I saw it as a young man And down through the ages, I continued to write verse. I used that as a creative expression, but it also helped me through life because I could address certain issues, certain feelings, and certain appreciations. I'm a retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing. After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak. And suddenly I realized I was there where those other people were. My name is Julius Gaines, creative writer, poet, photographer. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Hi, and welcome back to Bergen Stages Television. I'm talking with Christine Dunning and Jason Verhaeg about Noises Off. And before the break, we were talking about your characters and how they interact. But during the break, we talked about some more that you remembered at the audition process, or at the callback process.
Yeah.
What was it?
Mary was pairing up performers to get the heights right, which is aesthetically necessary for this show.
Because they pair off.
There's lots of pairs in this show. There's pairs on stage that commingle with pairs off stage. So you need to make she needed to make sure that it looked right and that they had the chemistry and everything of that nature.
So that's tough. Normally in a show you just have to worry about the one chemistry, but this is now having to do several of them going on there. But good, good. So I'm glad you thought about that because I think that's kind of the important part of the directorial process. And as Lloyd, as the director, you know that that's what you struggled with.
I would have taken notes to the centimeter on them.
Good. So now the show begins with that late night rehearsal before you're opening up, and things aren't going really well right at the start. I know the phone rings. Clackett comes in with her plate of sardines and goes to answer the phone, and the house is empty. Your character is the maid of this?
Yeah, I'm the housekeeper of the estate of the house, and the people who own it are away in Spain because they're evading taxes. And the man who works for the rental agency decides to bring this young girl that he met to the house and pretend that it's his. And as it turns out, the young woman actually works for the tax office. This is, I mean, Nothing On is like a traditional British sex farce.
Yes.
It's a bedroom farce, so people are going in and out of doors and misunderstandings.
Which is kind of the definition of farce, I think, just to kind of say why it's not just a comedy, but it's a farce is because doors are slamming here and there and all. It's kind of like if you walk into a theater and see the set and see all those doors, you know it's a farce.
Yes.
You know, it just kind of says it right there, which our set we'll talk about in a minute because that's like another character in this show is the scenery. So before we get into the other parts of the show, you two have an interaction right at the beginning, and I kind of asked you if you don't mind running a few of the lines there because you get a little bit confused right at the top of your dress rehearsal here. Can you give us a little bit, if you need to set it up better than I just did, please do.
Sure, so I'll take it from my character is exiting. Always the same, isn't it? As soon as you take the weight off your feet, down it all comes on your head. And then I take the sardines. No, I leave the sardines. No, I take the sardines.
You leave the sardines and you put the receiver back.
Oh yes, I put the receiver back.
And you leave the sardines.
And I leave the sardines?
You leave the sardines.
I put the receiver back and I leave the sardines.
Right.
We've changed that, have we, love?
No, love.
That's what I've always been doing?
I shouldn't say that, Dottie.
What? How about the words, love? Am I getting some of them right?
Some of them have a very familiar ring to them.
Only it's like a fruit machine in here.
I know that, Dottie.
I open my mouth and I never know if it's going to come out 3 oranges or 2 lemons and a banana.
Anyway, it's not yet midnight. We don't open till tomorrow. So you're holding the receiver.
I'm holding the receiver.
Squire, Ackerman, hold on.
Squire, Ackerman, hold on. Always the same in it. It's a load off your mind, it's a weight off your stomach, and off at last I go. And then I exit.
Great, good. Thanks, guys. That's already hysterical. That's just right at the beginning of the play. She's a little confused. She's a veteran actress.
Yes.
And so this is kind of a great role Dottie to be playing,
Yes.
so she's excited about playing it, but evidently there's a little confusion with why? Why is this already happening? Has it been a bad rehearsal process, Lloyd?
Well, I know that Lloyd has not been there for the last couple days. He was off on a holiday with another actress in the show.
Before opening night,
Before
you
opening
disappeared.
night, I, as well as one of the actresses, have disappeared for 2 days, leaving them to fend for themselves, leaving our stage management team to put the setup in those 2 days. So he is not the best director,
No,
but he thinks himself to be the
he
best
thinks
director.
he is. And so it's all the actor's fault and everybody else's
It is
fault.
all of their, it's everyone's fault except for his.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So again, this was the beginning scene
Yes.
of the show, and as you said, all these characters keep appearing and coming in throughout it. And do they have issues as well as with lines or entrances?
Oh, they do. We have an actress whose contact lenses fall out regularly. We have doors breaking and people missing their entrances and saying the wrong lines, and it is
Coming in too soon. I think the burglar kind of has
coming
a
in too
Not
soon.
yet, not yet, not yet.
Yeah, it is everything that could go wrong in a play will go wrong. And I think as an actor, we have the actor's nightmare. This is the director's nightmare.
That it could possibly. And the show within the show, Nothing On, is funny in itself. But with all this happening, you can't quite get to all that because you're watching all this other chaos ensue as the show goes along.
Yes.
So we end the first act with just go home. We have an opening night. Let's see what the hell happens on opening night, and that's how we end the first act.
Yes.
So the big thing, and so it's a beautiful estate. Adam Farnan is designing it. It's a 2-level stage, which of course adds to a lot of the comedy of going up and down steps and through all these doors, as you talked about, making it a farce. And then what spectacular thing happens to the set in Act 2?
In Act 2, it all turns around, so the audience is now seeing backstage of what happens during a matinee of the performance.
A month later now.
A month later.
And we also hear upstage the play itself happening
Yes.
while all this. So what's so crazy? It's my favorite piece of the show. I love the show all, but I love watching this because it's like a ballet. Just watching what's going on and what happens in this Act 2 that makes it a ballet.
There is a miscommunication between 2 actors who are having a showmance, and everyone is mad at each other. There are fights, there are chases, someone is trying to fix a relationship, flowers are getting handed to the wrong people, and it is just I would say it's a jealous rage of emotions, but like people are also getting drunk while this is going on. It is.
But our play is going on in the background, so it all has to be silent.
And everybody makes their entrance when they're supposed to because they know. So all this silent things are happening in front of us on stage because you can't be loud backstage or
Right.
you have all, the audience won't know what that noise is off is.
The
So
only
that's
noise
kind of the
backstage
ballet
is scripted,
mime.
yeah.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I was going to say the only noise backstage is what's scripted from backstage of the play. So
And suddenly, but everybody comes on and does. So this is such a theater person show too. I think just if
Yeah.
you've known those kind of antics that happen backstage, hopefully we never have to have one like this particular one is. So it all kind of goes crazy from the backstage point of view, which is, like I said, wonderful to watch. It's got to be hard to block, is it?
We just
last
finished.
night.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And my knees hurt and my wrist hurts from a certain moment that happened, but it's going to be rewarding.
A lot
It
of
is-
energy.
Yeah, it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of slapstick. It is so much fun to do.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I think part of the difficulty is making sure we get the timing right, so when we're supposed to be on stage and we do the fight, because we want it to look like all this chaos is happening, but we need to really be in control of it. We don't want to actually mess
and
up.
organized chaos. There you go. Yeah, it's
Yes.
just kind of like it's got to be right and safe.
Yep, everything that
because obviously
happens-
crazy things can happen on
Yeah.
this set. That it's just got to be done safely
Yeah.
in time, mark time. Do it slowly until you get it right, and then pick up the speed as it goes along. There is it hard because I can't imagine this and. Is it hard to know your entrance on the play because you're so busy backstage doing something?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It just seems like that would be such a, because you're so focused on this, you're not thinking about what's happening there and making it. It is okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I kind of
Yeah.
thought. This is really a focused show. You cannot.
Yes.
It's. I think you said an ensemble show, but it's also it's a well-oiled machine. I mean, it goes and one thing gets out of place,
Yes.
and it can kind of throw the whole thing. So you block that up and down all the antics, and then we go to Act 3. And what happens in Act 3?
Act 3 is
set turns back
the set
around.
turns back
And
around
we're
to
2 months
the
later,
show.
maybe April or something like that.
10 weeks.
10 weeks.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's good to know. And the set turns around, and it is now closing night of the performance. And
Thank God.
nothing has really gotten better for them. Nothing has gotten better at all. And props have gone missing, and a lot of the same issues that have been happening throughout the show happen again. And it's like they
And
didn't
it gets
learn.
worse, and it's almost
It
you
gets
just want to throw up your
worse,
hands,
and
just end this nightmare at some point
it's
there.
the actors and maybe the director appears on stage at some point of this play, just give up, and they're just like, let's just end it.
Just end at Act 1.
Yeah.
Let's
We
stop
never
right
get to Nothing On's Act 2
the same,
or
yeah,
Act
yeah,
3
just
if
kinda
there
gets
even
that
is
far-
one.
If there is one.
We only know what happens in Act 1 of this
That's
show.
great. And it has a lot of crazy props. I know Dan Conrad is doing the props for this, and as I talked about, Adam is doing this incredible 2-level set that has to spin around to show the backside of it. Marie, Natalie's already given you kind of costumes to start working in. Is it helpful? I mean, those shoes going up and down steps have got to be part of, getting used to. I know some of the girls are in heels, and
Yeah.
because it's set in 1980s, right? It's a
This is-
1980s
Do you
show.
go up the steps?
I have not yet gone up the steps.
I don't have to go up the steps.
ladder.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
I go
good,
up the
good.
ladder. We both go up the ladder. But there's an actress in the show who is in a teddy the entire Act 2, and she has to rehearse in that because
That's perp.
she needs to know what
used
her
to it.
restrictions are of
Yeah,
what she can
yeah,
do
you're
on
right.
stage.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true. Wow.
So like a lot of the costumes and shoes and have been used.
Good to start rehearsing in it because
everyone,
it,
I
it
think,
helps the characters
yeah.
too. I
Yes.
think to find these characters.
All the
dresses
males
and all
lose
that
their
kind of
pants
stuff.
at a moment, so they've had pants.
It's farce.
Fall down
Yeah,
pants.
so we've had fall down pants to work with.
Fall down pants. That's hysterical. That's hysterical. And I love there's a program in the program that talks about
Yes.
all
Yes.
this, and it's just and describes what farce is all about. And I just typed it up this weekend and just died laughing at so much that it explains in it. We have Dean Matson doing the sound. I know there's sound effects, some music, of course, playing, but also phone rings and all those kind of stuff like that. And as I talked about, Marie, and then we have Graham Fry doing the lights for the show. So it's a great group of people putting this thing together, and then such a wonderful ensemble of actors. I've peeked in a few rehearsals. I am so excited about this show.
Oh,
Again, it's
cool.
one of my favorite. I got to see it originally on Broadway. That's how old I am. So it's so much fun to see it. And I haven't seen it since, so it's just kind of fun. So Break a Leg. I can't believe the show's over. Break a Leg with the show. It
Thank
opens
you.
April 5th. So please come and see our show. Its Noise is Off. It opens on April 5th in the Saccone Theater. It just plays for 2 weekends. So get your tickets now at tickets.bergen.edu. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the theater.
The color in my garden keeps the pink in my cheeks. I was very independent and thought I could take care of myself. I fell and I had to have Meals on Wheels. They're my savior. My name is Lola Silvestri. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.